There are two quarterbacks you can apply this topic to. Number one is rookie quarterback Justin Fields in Chicago. And number two, the other guy is Daniel Jones in New York with the Giants. When I watch both of them, it looks like they're holding something back. Justin Fields, I want to see him run around and extend plays and use his legs to keep plays alive. Daniel Jones, I feel like Daniel Jones just needs to let loose. I want that to happen. Maybe he needs to get a mohawk and tattoos, change his name to Danny Touchdown. I don't know. I want to see more of an edge from Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback. He needs to play more free, not be worried about making mistakes. And there's a way that we get there, but it's really, really complicated and difficult. So the way I want to introduce this topic is a while back, I recorded an interview with one of my all-time favorite coaches. His name is John Eagle. I first met him in high school. I played against his football team. He won multiple state titles, and then now he is the quarterback coach at Portland State University, a Division I college football program. I want to play a 2-minute clip from our conversation. There's a lot here. I'm gonna let it play out, and then I will break it all down afterward. Enjoy that clip right now.
I think we just have a sit-down one-on-one conversation with kids and just said, tell me about you and how you see yourself playing quarterback, and tell me what your strengths are and what you need to work on. And I look at it like I'm not trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I'm just trying to take a look at the things. I watch you play and look at the things that you do well, and then let's put the offense together around the things that you can do. You know, I have things I like to do offensively, but that doesn't mean that's the best thing to do for the team. Is what can our quarterback do, and what kind of talent does he have around him to get it done? I just think sometimes you give the quarterback too much to think about, and you produce a robot, which we don't want. We need to take some risks. You need to understand who you are. If your players aren't as good as your opponent, you got to take more chances. The other thing is you got to allow your quarterback to make mistakes, because then you get a guy who doesn't want to make a mistake. And then I want to talk to our quarterbacks here at Portland State about being on script and off script. You know, an on script quarterback is a kid that is a pleaser and he wants to do everything right, and he never goes off script. Like, you know, if you went out, you're in drama and you're in a play, the guy who's on script reads it word for word. Quarterbacks got to be able to do some of that, but you got to go, the great ones go off script. So, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he will a lot of times go off script. And that's what makes him great. Is a guy, well, how do you know when to go on script or off script? Well, some kids are afraid to make mistakes. They've been yelled at too many times since they've been in junior high, so they're afraid to make mistakes.
Hearing Coach Eagle talk there makes me really concerned about the current Chicago Bears head coach, Matt Nagy, and his approach being used with his quarterback room. If you want your quarterback to make big plays, then they need to feel comfortable enough and feel free enough to take a risk or two. Part of why Patrick Mahomes is so successful in Kansas City is that Casey gives him freedom to try new stuff, to be creative. There is not ever a moment where Patrick Mahomes is going to get benched this year. If he makes a mistake, no big deal. We might point it out, but he's not going to lose his job over an interception or two. Patrick Mahomes he's earned the right, surely. But he also does have a solidified starting job, and that does matter. When your coach says, hey, I trust you. If you make a mistake, we're not going to pull the plug and go, next guy up. Matt Nagy's former quarterback is Mitchell Trubisky. He's now the Buffalo Bills backup quarterback. During Trubisky's time in Chicago, Mitchell Trubisky was often hesitant to pull the trigger on deep balls, and I always blamed Mitchell Trubisky for that. But now I'm starting to understand and starting to believe that it's because his coach, Matt Nagy, did not create an environment where mistakes could be forgiven. And this really turned my whole football world on its head. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I reflected on my entire career as a quarterback. I'm like, well, I didn't pull the trigger enough. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never felt safe either when I played quarterback, and it really, really shook me awake. Quarterbacks need to be given room to experiment. If you do not experiment, you're not going to make big plays. Matt Nagy refuses to commit to his rookie quarterback, Justin Fields. He has said, even now, after the guy won a game last week, that if Andy Dalton is healthy, then Andy Dalton is going to be the starting quarterback in Chicago. I'm sorry, that's weird. And I truly believe that the worst thing you can do to a quarterback, the worst thing you can do to your quarterback is to put them in an environment where it's hard for them to be confident. It's their job. They got to let comments roll off their back. Sure. But Matt Nagy has made things very, very difficult for Justin Fields. He's gotten in his way and made it hard for Justin Fields to feel confident and secure in his role. That's really bad. That's unforgivable. That's bad coaching, in my opinion. Now, Daniel Jones in New York, everybody knows Daniel Jones can run. How many times during his career has he broken off a long run, either for a big gain or for a touchdown? Like, I'm sorry, but if you watch Daniel Jones at all, it's heavily apparent that he can run around. But it's weird. What you rarely see from Daniel Jones is him go off script and create big plays and extend plays. And the contrast between Kyler Murray and Daniel Jones, yeah, Kyler's a little bit quicker, but Kyler's playing style is different. Watch Kyler Murray. If nothing's open, he buys time, he creates, he extends plays, he keeps plays alive. I am certain Daniel Jones is capable of that, but I've never seen that. Usually the only time you see Daniel Jones run is on a designed quarterback running play. It's a specific play call, like on a zone read or a quarterback sprint out, something like that. You never see Daniel Jones just go off script and ad lib. And to me, watching clearly, Daniel Jones has not been given the freedom to experiment. It's so obvious when you watch him play. You're like, it feels like he's holding something back, whether he's afraid or there's something going on there. Because it's so clear that he is capable of more. He can run around. He's got a great deep ball. I want to see more of both. I want to see Daniel Jones let it rip. Daniel touchdown, mohawk, tattoos. I don't care. I want the guy to play more carefree, to not apologize, to not feel the weight of New York being angry anytime he makes any little mistake. And I understand. I've been critical of Trubisky. I've been critical of Justin Fields. I've been critical of all these people. I'm part of the problem. You hear me admitting that, right? Like I'm trying to share a change in my philosophy to some degree, which is, man, the environment around a quarterback is not talked about enough. Does your quarterback feel safe to pull the trigger on a deep ball? If something goes wrong, is he going to get benched or berated? Coach John Eagle, that guy I played an interview of, he has a philosophy. He has one thing he'll yell at you for. He'll pick one thing. Otherwise, he's going to talk to you respectfully. For example, he made a comparison that when he coached high school football, like his cornerback coach had a rule, I'm only going to yell at you if people get deep behind you. As long as you never let people behind you, hey, that's my one thing I'll pull the trigger on and go crazy on. Otherwise, I'm going to speak to you respectfully and calmly.
When I was a head coach, I would tell our assistants, you got to have one thing that you get pissed about. One. And you tell the players what it is. So if you're the corner coach and you get beat deep, that might be your one. Oh, here it comes.
That matters so much. You don't want to be the guy yelling about everything. Another thing that he said, I'm going to play the quote here. He said basically that if you live by a train, eventually you tune it out. If you yell all the time, no one's going to hear it.
You know, we use the metaphor. You know, you heard the story about the guy that lived by the railroad tracks. Pretty soon he never heard the train anymore. So if you are the coach who is always yelling, at some point they're not going to listen to you anymore.
So if you live in a constant situation where it's not safe to make mistakes, it really affects your quarterback. Are you a coach encouraging your quarterback to use his legs to run around, extend plays? Daniel Jones is obviously a great athlete, but in my opinion, he does not use his athletic ability enough. It's infuriating to watch. I'm like, I know there's more here. Something's being left on the table. It's really hard to watch. And it makes me wonder, is he not being encouraged to run around more and extend plays? And why not? If he's not, The Giants are 1-3. I want to see Daniel Jones run around more and extend plays. He's capable of it. Can we make it happen? And maybe this is half a joke, like half of it is a joke. It's also like a weird, fun theory. Maybe the Giants need to hire some kind of really creative college coach to be their offensive coordinator. Like, for example, could you pay Lincoln Riley is the king of the castle at Oklahoma University. He's not leaving anytime soon. But what if you gave him like $100 million and said, hey, come be the offensive coordinator? Like, do something crazy if you're New York. Let's get a coach who's really, really creative, who can pull the best out of Daniel Jones. And maybe like Lincoln Riley's, I don't know, especially after Urban Meyer, like, do I trust a college coach to come work in the NFL? Definitely not. Maybe you need to coach, Lincoln Riley's the offensive coordinator. You need a guy who knows the NFL to be the head coach. Maybe that's a terrible idea too, because Lincoln Riley is a head coach now, and being an offensive coordinator is a step backwards. I don't know. Maybe you hire Joe Brady from Carolina. Like, I'm spitballing here. But it's very clear to me that the environment around Daniel Jones and Justin Fields in Chicago, they're not being encouraged enough to take risks. And I want to see both of them play off script a little more. If nothing's open, extend a play, keep it alive. They're playing safe, and they're playing scared, and they're playing like they don't have the freedom to make a mistake. If they don't, they're going to get benched or get yelled at or potentially lose their job. And it's not a healthy environment for a quarterback to play in. And by the way, fans can be part of the problem. Giants fans, I love you. You are passionate. You care. Bears fans, you guys are insane. Y'all are brutal. I love both fan bases. Giants fans, Bears fans, I love you guys. I really do. The worst crime you can commit as a fan is to be apathetic and not care. So as a person who talks about sports for a living, you guys pay my bills. I love you. But you guys, let me tell you, you apply a ton of pressure. And you are always calling for somebody's job, it feels like. And that has a trickle-down effect. When you call for the general manager's job, he puts pressure on the coach, and then the coach puts pressure on the quarterback. Fans don't realize that when you boo people, you're being counterproductive. When you boo your own team, you're just hurting yourself. You're making your team on the field even worse. And you don't realize this maybe, but basically, if you boo your own team, you're encouraging your own misery. It's like, I get it. I understand. You're unhappy. And I certainly hate the thought of a fan base that doesn't hold ownership accountable, because when you have an owner that hires a bad GM or a bad coach, like, you got to let them know. But maybe the best way is just to not go to games, to not buy gear. If you don't give them money, that's how you punish an owner into making a change, right? They listen to money way more than they listen to you booing at games. Because if you're booing but you're there, they're still making cheddar. Anyway, the point is that the environment around Justin Fields is really unhealthy. Matt Nagy, as coach, is not promoting confidence. He's not said, Justin's my guy. He said, hey, Justin, you might lose your job at any time, and you never know when. That is not healthy for a young quarterback to feel confident and comfortable in the position. And New York with the Giants, I don't know what it is, whether it's coaching, whether it's pressure. Somebody needs to sit down with Daniel Jones and have a conversation and say, look, dude, you're clearly a great athlete. Let's watch film of Kyler Murray, and how can we add this aspect to your game? Because there's something missing here. There's some kind of disconnect. Is it because you're not comfortable? Is it because you don't feel safe to do that? Is it because you've never played that way? I don't know. But something is keeping Daniel Jones from letting loose and going off script. I don't know what it is yet. I will ask as many people as I can, try to figure it out. It's like a mystery hunt, right? We're trying to solve this mystery, but something's holding back Daniel Jones. I don't know what it is, and it's pretty clear that's happening either way, because he's capable of more, and we're not seeing more. And I think so often we blame the quarterback, we blame this, we blame that, and we don't ever talk about the environment around a quarterback. Confidence matters, and are they being put in a position to be confident in the first place? That is a question I think almost nobody ever will ask. And so I wanted to ask it today on Strong Opinion Sports, and pay attention to that. Is Daniel Jones comfortable enough? Is he in a safe position to make a mistake where he can take a risk? Because he's not going to make any big plays off script if he's never afforded the ability and the opportunity to do that.